I've been reflecting on this word calling, and I've been asking God from His word what this means in our lives. And it's a very interesting word because we hear it a lot from our friends at church. Sometimes, you get asked, what is your calling in life? What are your what is your purpose? What are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? Stuff like that. And oftentimes calling is it's connected to our personality, to our gifts and talents. But I've been asking God recently, what does it mean, this word calling in life? And these past couple of weeks, I've decided to delete my Facebook and took a break from YouTube, from watching too many videos, and just decided to spend time with God. Like some intimate time, reading His Word, the Bible, and learning to fall in love with Jesus again. And today, just earlier, I was reading the Bible and I got reminded of this word calling, particularly when Jesus started calling His disciples. What Jesus spoke to me was so simple, yet is affecting how I look at calling and how I understand what it means to be a Christian. We've come to the point where we have redefined what calling means for our generation, our culture, and myself included when I and myself included whenever I think about the calling, I associate it with a particular task or mission or talent or gifts that I'm good at, that I pursue in order to serve God or to serve people. But today I had this kind of like a conversation with God and redefining what that means. And it's actually so simple. Calling means being called by Jesus and following Him. It's not necessarily associated with any particular thing in life. So, what it means to be called is to follow and pursue Jesus and learn how to love Him with all our mind and heart and strength. And that's what it means to be called. It's not being called as a filmmaker or a musician. It's not your calling to be a preacher. It's not your calling to be an evangelist. But calling means to be called by Jesus, to follow Him and learn how to love Him. And this really speaks volume in my life because in the past, in 2020, I believe that I was called to be a pastor in the Philippines, to plant a church. And when that didn't go well, we were asked to step down from our position as pastors. I began to question my identity when it comes to my relationship with God. I thought that, if I was called to be a pastor, then how come that all these things happen? And when I was removed from that position, when I wasn't planting churches anymore, I got confused. I didn't know what I was doing, and I kind of lost a bit of my identity. And that affected how I approached God. I lost my excitement and passion for His Word. And I also, just in general, lost my enthusiasm for ministry, whatever ministry meant. It's one of those words that could mean a lot of things and mean nothing, ministry. But in this season, Jesus is showing me a different picture of what it means to be a Christian, to be a follower of Christ. And that is, we're simply meant to love Him. We're simply meant to follow Him, to to pursue His heart and to know His will, to have a relationship with Him, to live in His Word, to live according to the Spirit. These are words that are kind of hard to understand unless we really intimately pursue Jesus. And I realized that no one is really called to be a pastor, or nobody is really called to be an evangelist, or nobody is really called to be a songwriter. But we are called to follow Christ, to love Jesus. That's it. And all these things, preaching, your gifts, talents, it just comes out naturally as we follow Jesus, as He opens up opportunities, as He develops talents and gifts and character in us. But don't confuse that with Jesus calling in our lives, which is simply following Him. Because what could happen, and I believe is a trap from the enemy, is that in our minds we're thinking we're trying to figure out our calling in order to serve God, in order to follow God's calling, whatever that means. But in reality, it's just a disguise for self fulfillment, self serving, um, as a way to just show people that we want to impress that we are cold. But in reality, our hearts are empty. We don't love Jesus. And that really saddens Jesus. But flipping things around, Jesus, what He means by calling is to love Him, and that's it. Everything's just follow. I think I'm just repeating myself now, but I hope that this short video encourages someone, perhaps someone who's trying to figure out things, and you're not satisfied with your gifts and talents, or maybe you're kind of lost at the moment. Maybe you lost your position, or you're not sure about what it means for you to be in ministry, and all that kind of stuff. Those are just, I mean, worthless is a strong word, but it's worthless compared to our relationship with Jesus. I think as Christians, that is what it means to be a Christian, to follow Jesus and to love Him and to have a relationship with Him. So, yeah, I just feel like sharing that word with you because God's been really speaking to me about that so strongly. And I just want to love Jesus more. That's it. If you know me personally, I have so many interests in life, and I've confused those different things with my calling. But in the end, I'm not called to be a influencer, not called to be a pastor, I'm not called to be an evangelist, I'm not called to be a preacher, I'm not called to be whatever it is, but I'm simply called to follow Jesus and love Him. That's it. So I hope you guys get something from this, and yeah, let's stay connected. See you guys.